How's it going, everybody? It's Eong here, and welcome to day 43 of the Final Fantasy XV Countdown Retrospective. Before you proceed, I highly recommend you check out day 44, in which I discussed a brand new Versus 13 trailer that was included with Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Complete, featuring a scene between Noctis and Stella running in real time on the PlayStation 3. In this video, I'm actually going to go ahead and blow past the rest of the news that came from 2009, which ended up being a pretty tame year for the highly anticipated title. After Advent Children Complete released on April 16th, 2009 with Versus 13's new trailer, half a month later, on May 1st, 2009, Kotaku released the following article detailing a minor update on both 13 and Versus 13 that game director Tetsuya Nomura provided through a recent interview that he did with Famitsu. According to Nomura, as far as Versus goes, the game's costume designer has finished up the character outfits for the main character and his comrades, which are apparently hard to recreate in-game due to their material. Other than that, not much else there. Then, later that month, on May 27th, 2009, website Gematsu published an article detailing yet another interview that Nomura did with Famitsu, who once again provided some minor hints, details, and updates on Versus 13. On the topic of Versus 13, Nomura said that the team consists of more or less the same members of the Final Fantasy VII team, and that everyone is working like crazy on the game, ensuring the best quality. At the time, they were apparently testing the battle system, map gimmicks, as well as town lighting. Nomura particularly mentioned that the day and night for one of the towns made it feel like the town literally existed in front of him. It's worth noting that this might have been our very first hint at some type of day and night cycle system for the game. This interview finally concluded with Nomura stating that he's preparing to show us something surprising once the time is right for Versus 13, but we'd have to wait a bit longer. He also confirmed that while Final Fantasy XIII would be present at E3 2009, Versus 13 will not, so that was a big bummer. True to his word, months would go by and E3 2009 would come and go with no Versus 13 news in sight. The next bit of news would arrive 2 months after E3 2009, on August 24th, 2009. On that date, website Kotaku published an article detailing something that Square Enix's Yoshinori Kitase told them during Gamescom. Apparently, he said that the development time of Versus 13 will be comparatively faster than that of the core entry, Final Fantasy XIII. Ha! He followed that up by saying that the new knowledge and experience that the team gained from helping out with 13 will help ensure Versus is out faster. Yup, we know how that panned out. I think it's around this point in time that people began to get frustrated with a lack of indication on when we can expect the game to be finished. It had been 3 years since the game's announcement, and there was still no end in sight for the wait. To make matters worse, later that month, on August 31st, 2009, website VG247 released an article providing an unfortunate update from Tetsuya Nomura through yet another interview that he did with Famitsu. According to the latest issue of the magazine, Nomura confirmed that the game won't show up at Tokyo Game Show 2009, set to take place between September 24th and September 27th. Apparently, Square Enix decided that they would focus on showing off games coming out in 2009, like Final Fantasy XIII. Further elaboration was provided by this post on website finalfantasyfxn.net, through which user Mooch translated what Nomura said on the matter. The translation goes as follows: "New information blowout will be after the new year. I want to let some information out soon, but the dev team is telling me not until quality's improved further. When a monster appears on the road, it appears to be small compared to the buildings around it, but when compared to footbridges, it looks big. In other words, they're still working out the kinks, which is why they decided to hold off on showing off anything new for Versus 13 for TGS 2009. But to everyone's surprise, when TGS 2009 actually came around, it turned out that Tetsuya Nomura did have something to show off for Versus 13 after all, what appeared to be the first actual gameplay footage of the game, according to this article by website Andrea Sang. It was only shown behind closed doors, unfortunately, but following the presentation, Tetsuya Nomura did an interview with Famitsu to discuss and detail what was shown in the video, which Andrea Sang summarized in great detail. The new Versus 13 footage showed the game's main character running in a town at various points during the day, then out in a field that was populated by large monsters. The footage was filmed with a camera, presumably by the game's staff, whose commentary could be seen in text shown below the footage. According to Nomura, the footage wasn't actually from a development version of the game, but rather part of a technology test. It's not the case that everything shown during the clip will be used in the actual game. The clip was quickly made in an effort to show that Versus is in development and ease fan anxieties. Regarding the scene showing the main character walking around town during different times of the day, Nomura said that this was just a test of how far they could differentiate day and night scenes. The NPC characters who populated the town during the daytime were actually borrowed from Final Fantasy XIII. The map that was used for the following field scene was made in 2 weeks, said Nomura. It won't be used in that form in the final version of the game. The behemoth creature from the clip was without textures, he also said. Regarding the game's fields, Nomura added that Versus will probably have more natural landscapes than Final Fantasy XIII. I recall him having said something like this in the past. It appears that the only official parts of the trailer surrounded main character Noctis. The clothing worn in the trailer by Noctis is the official clothing designed by Rowan creative director Kei Takahara. The Famitsu.com interview went off into a lengthy aside about the game's clothing tie-up with Rowan. Asked if accessories for the game would be Rowan branded, Nomura said that Noctis does not wear accessories like necklaces and earrings. The only accessory he wears is a ring on his right hand. The ring is worn as part of the story. While Noctis wears nothing but the ring on his right hand, he wears a biker glove on his left hand. Asked if this means that Noctis rides a bike, Nomura responded with a laugh, probably. The Noctis character shown in the video is pretty much finalized, said Nomura. Asked if there have been any changes to the character since past showings, he said that the hair has been cut a bit shorter, although the style is unchanged. And finally, the big question about development progress. According to Nomura, the development team has been working on tests since last year. Since the spring, they have been gradually increasing staff. With Final Fantasy XIII's development winding down, staff from that project are coming over to Versus, so he expects development to accelerate from here on out. News of Final Fantasy Versus 13 finally concluded for 2009 with one last Famitsu article, this one released on October 21st, which provided bullet points regarding the gameplay footage that was shown behind closed doors during TGS 2009, which user Shadow River later translated on website finalfantasyfxn.net. Here's what the bullet points state. Footage at TGS was for internal previewing purposes, so there's not actually a character that is shimmering white, it just didn't have textures. Behemoth was also displaying without textures. With regards to the game's ginormous monsters seen in the trailers, they were testing to see the limit of how big the monsters could be. I guess they're referring to hardware testing. Question: can we really fight enemies like that? It's hard to imagine. I can see how it's hard to imagine. Even I'm wondering if it can be done, which is why we're trying to do it. Playstyle can be categorized as an extension of the Kingdom Hearts system, but we're trying to make it feel like the nostalgia of traditional Final Fantasy mixed with something new. Heavy focus on level design, experimenting with having a portrait window of Noct at the bottom right so that you can see his emotions all the time. But when other party members are on the screen, it feels weird, so we're probably going to remove this. Window idea was brought up because they wanted it to be a way to understand what your other party members are doing on their own. Aiming for the type of buddy AI such as in Western FPSs, where they act on their own but you get the feeling that they're teammates working in unison with you. All clothing is asymmetrical. Noct doesn't wear a necklace or earrings, the ring he wears on his right hand, which is story related, is his only accessory. The ring is important, so on his left hand he wears an open-fingered glove. Noctis maybe rides a bike. In order to make it difficult to tell the difference between pre-rendered CG and real-time footage, they pay attention to the most minute details down to the wrinkles in boots. Stuff that wasn't in the test will be revealed bit by bit next year, perhaps as early as E3. And there you go, the last bits of major Versus 13 news we got for 2009, which proved to be a rather frustrating year for those who have been looking forward to the game since 2006. However, Nomura promised we would be seeing a lot of Versus 13 throughout 2010, so that served as some comfort for fans of the series. With that, I would like to conclude today's episode of the Final Fantasy XV Countdown Retrospective. Thank you for tuning in. Share with us in the comments below any memories from 2009 that this video might have sparked for you guys. And to be further updated on all things Final Fantasy, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out!